happening. It's starting to happen. It's preparing. I'm crowning. No, that's happening. And a little birth reference. Let's see.
I mean, I picked up what you put down.
Okay. And now we're about to begin. 3, 2. Hello and welcome to another edition of X Connections Live here on JLJ Media, by JLJ Media, and that's for Flobo. I'm James Live Jr. of JLJ Media. And this is my series I'm doing of live shows. I did one with them last year. Actually, it was like last month, but it was last year. I did other shows with George Hermosa and Steve Kaufman, and I have some more coming up. So now the regular show is premiering this Wednesday with my friend, Dr. Christopher Metzler. He's a Republican, and we have a talk. So you're not going to miss that. It's really, really good. We actually find common ground. So
I have a question. Where can I find that?
On JLJ Media, and all streaming services on JLJ Media. Thank you.
What does JLJ stand for, by the way?
It stands for JLJ in JLJ Media. Thank you. And speaking, I'm not going to introduce like what they do and shit, because they do all kind of shit.
Wow.
So we got Tony Moore.
Thanks for having me, bro.
And we got Jack Farmer. That's right, kids.
Good to be here. I feel appreciated. That's good. Yeah. I feel seen. I feel
exactly. Well, you guys, if they want to find what you do, they can just like look up all my other stuff.
That's why.
Just type in their names in JLJ Media. Type in their names, you'll find them.
Not the.
I'm gonna do this all day. I love it. Petty the bell. Peppermint Petty. That's what.
Peppermint Petty. That's a new one. I like that one. Peppermint Petty.
So welcome to the show, and you guys, Happy New Year, you guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I haven't seen you guys since last year.
Oh, okay. So, Joey Johnson says, "Oh, I love you, JLJ." He actually wrote that, and Tony Tone. Tony.
Oh, hello.
You get 2 Tonys. You get 2 Tonys.
Tony Tone.
Yeah.
3.
Feeling a little left out by that comment, but cool. It's fine.
I know. Like, what about Jack Farmer? Do you not know him? Maybe. Come on. I don't know, but I'll take the love anyways. Matter. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna dig right into that. My first question, my first question is actually kind of a serious one, and that is support. How important is professional support to your psyche in creating content and continue to create content? How important is professional support towards your psyche in creating content? I know I'll start off first while you guys are kind of thinking a little bit. For me, I don't look for it, so I mean, it's nice to have it. But I realize everybody has their own reasons for why they support your stuff or don't support your stuff. It's nice to have it. When it does happen, you see different things happen. Some people do support you depending on what it is you do. But I've learned after a while that sometimes you're an island. You gotta go out there, just do it, and hopefully something happens. But it does sometimes you wish that people would do more. So I will start with you, Flobito. I'm gonna start with you. What are your thoughts on professional support?
I'm so glad you asked me first. I thought you were going to ignore me the rest of the show. Professional support is one of those things that it is a nice to have. And I know the Instagram influencer says, don't worry what people think, just do you, boo, but it's not true. You have to keep looking at your product and see if it's competitive in the marketplace. So I get the support by being inspired by other people, contemporaries, and how they work. And sometimes I go, oh man, they have more shows than me, or they have bigger guests than me, or they're doing an angle I haven't even thought of. That's kind of almost like negative encouragement. That's what I use to support me on the professional level. But yeah, sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you're kind of still in that personal support because we still are one-man shows, or we still have a small team at the very, very least. And so you may still need to get that like soul food for yourself before you can impart things professionally. Jack
Farmer, what do you think? How's it for you?
Yeah, I think support is something that is obviously important. I think that a lot of times when people think they need support or they're hoping for support, it's not what they're expecting. And what I mean is, I think a lot of people think like, hey, support me. And that means watch everything I do, like, comment, subscribe, everything I do, share it with everyone every single time. And they think that's support. And that's nice. That's a nice fairy tale. But the reality is it's not really going to happen. I mean, I don't know if there's enough hours in the day to watch everyone's stuff just on this screen right now every week, because so much stuff comes out. So the reality is that's not the support that I think is important. I think the support that's important is, Flobo and I do this all the time, the texting each other of like, hey man, I'm just not feeling it today.
Mhm.
Hey, don't worry about it. We all hit low points. Keep at it. You're doing great, or whatever. Or man, I'm really struggling with StreamYard, or that kind of stuff. That stuff to really kind of help you behind the scenes is the real support that's important, not just the I'm sharing your link just for the sake of sharing a link or whatever the case may be. It feels good and that's good. Don't get me wrong. But I think as a creator, if you're making stuff, if you think every person you know is going to watch everything you do and hit the like button every single time and share it every single time, you're setting yourself up for a big disappointment.
Well, you bring a good point about behind the scenes supports. You have friends who, may have more experience than you in something, or a connection or anything, and they don't help you with that. They're kind of like, oh, you're doing so great. I love you. Oh my God, you should be on this show. And they have a connection to the show, but they never submit your name to the show. Like that. So you bring up a good point about that. It's kind of like, well then, or tell me what can I do to make it closer to getting on that show. Like I kind of feel like that's something that's very important. I didn't think about that, Jack. It's very important. Tony Moore, what are your thoughts on it?
Well,
Yeah, tell it, Tony. Tell it.
I feel like this because this is something that I've struggled with for quite some time. So, and Jack brought up a good point as far as like the behind the scenes support. I do feel like it's important if you have the know-how or capability of helping someone with an idea or a project. I do think support in the collaborative effort is very important. I think of what Issa Rae said when she said, you network to the left and right of you and not up, because these people are going to be just as hungry as you are. And those people may not, have the willingness to like pull someone up to where they are in fear of they'll pull you up and then you'll get further than them. So I believe that, support in the collaborative effort is important because I think a lot of things can get done. Prime example, with my show More Please, I reached out to Flobo because I knew that he was familiar with StreamYard to assist with that, and he was very happy to do that. So it feels good for someone to recognize what you're trying to do, have the know-how and the experience of helping you to do that and create it so that it can continue to move forward. When the product is finally made, I think it is important to have people to support what you do. Maybe watch an episode, or maybe, take 2 seconds to share an episode or something, so that, there are more eyes than just your network looking at your product. We see it all the time. These people that go viral don't go viral because they have this huge network. These people go viral because I see something, I show Flobo, Flobo shows his network, that includes Jack. Jack then shows his network, which includes James, and then all the networks start putting it out there. So it is important to support people who are content creators and creating something, because they're not only creating it just for themselves, but they're also creating it for you in hopes that you will watch it, you will enjoy it, you may tune in every week, but you will also share it so that someone else can enjoy it as well.
Well, all three of you bring up a really good points, because because I go by the adage sometimes. I find that some people I know see my stuff, they don't like everything. They have a lot of people in their lives, so they may like a few things here and there, but they'll tell me later, I watched your show. Mm-hmm. And so whatever. So I get that. But then I also think on my other side, I go, well, it takes 2 seconds to press a button sometimes just to share it. Like I always go back and forth. I don't know how you guys feel about that either. I go back and forth going, well, it takes 5 seconds to share it, to retweet something. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to retweet something. It takes 1 second to send it to this one person you may know should see this. Like Jack's right, everybody's not gonna see it. But what if somebody in your network that likes that guest they have on their show? Well, they should see that. Then you take that 2 seconds and you share it on Instagram to that person. You go, you should see this.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes that doesn't happen enough sometimes. I think I kind of feel. So how do you guys feel about that? The whole sharing thing. I mean, we know kind of a little bit, but like, how important do you think that is, kind of?
Well, I think sharing is obviously important. That's how you grow your brand and your market is people sharing what you're putting out there. Unless you're someone who already has 1 million followers, in which case you're already set. You don't need my advice. But if you're looking for, those shares are important. I think though, when you're looking for those, you have to make sure that you're providing content that people are going to feel like sharing is valuable to. And so like, yeah, I mean, if you do a show and it's you just chatting with your buddy about whatever you want to chat about, because it's whatever your buddy, you just happen to turn a microphone on, that doesn't necessarily mean people find that interesting to share to people. But James, you had a great chat with a buddy of ours, George Hermosa, who's a wrestling pundit who works with the Wrestling Chatter. I saw that. I thought it was a great interview. I have a lot of wrestling fans in my network, so I thought that's something worth sharing. That's something that would provide value to them. Now, if you were just having a conversation about, knitting, I'd be like, well, I mean, I like these guys, but my network doesn't care about knitting. Why would I share that to them? So you have to remember, you have to do things that would provide value to those different networks to make it worth sharing.
You did share my interview with George Hermosa. So
I did share it. Yes.
If I do a show about knitting, you better fucking share it. Anyway, Phil, what do you think?
I will tag you, Jack. It is. I want to say double-edged sword, but there's an edge on every side of that blade, man. It really is, because I do different shows and different aspects of things weekly, and so when I post, because they always say, "Hey, Flo, you don't post enough." But then I post things out and I get like 1 like. I go, oh, it's over. People don't really realize we kind of hinge on those. And I know likes and comments and shares are not indicative of profit. They're not indicative of success, but I need to know if there's an audience for it. And I also understand if you're on social media, you are inundated with everyone's new clothing line, which is basically a Hanes t-shirt company, everyone's new single, everyone's new MLM company. So I understand there's a time where you're like, yo, I'm all liked out today. I just want to scroll and enjoy. So I understand people do that. I also know that if people like my stuff and share my stuff, when my next thing I post, Facebook or Instagram is more likely to promote that too with their algorithm. So I kind of wish people liked and shared more. But to your point, when someone tells you they like it, that is actually worth its weight in gold, especially on our level. I mean, yeah, I can sit there and say quarter profits is this and that, but when someone goes, hey, I took the time to watch you review this obscure Chinese action movie on Netflix, I go, wait, you actually saw that? I had like 9 views, oh, you're one of them. Cool. That is enough for the rocket to put me back to work, a couple weeks or so.
Yeah.
That's true too. That actually is true. And sometimes it depends on who it comes from. Because we'll have somebody say, oh, I saw the episode of you. And it's like one of our maybe celebrity friends or somebody, they go, yeah, I watched that show. And we know this on Audition Days. Some of the Days cast, and the same with General Hospital, same with Bowman. Some of them actually watch our shows, our episodes. Our little tiny after shows, they actually watch them and can quote things back to us. Like, well, when you said, because we had Annika Nicole on today. She's a huge star in Bold and Beautiful, and a huge storyline. And she said on air, she goes, as long as I've known you and Tammy, I remember when you said this on this episode, like she was like naming our, like, she knew what we were talking about. Like, she knew the inside joke that we had. Yeah. And so I think that's something that is worth it. You're right, it is worth its weight in gold. Though it's like they're actually paying attention, which makes me want to make sure I do a really good show. Also, we know that they're watching. Tony, talk about that a little bit. You know how that is too.
What? Them people watching our shows,
watching our show, watching your product. People are big folks watching your product.
Like when you create something that someone is the star of or something, you don't know who's tuning in. I was at a fan event with one of the cast members of Days of Our Lives, and he mentioned something that was said during one of our shows. And I kind of looked at him like, you watch? And he was like, I watch all the time. But I didn't know that. He doesn't make his presence known, like, but he's known me for a while. But I didn't know that he tunes in every now and then. So sometimes, you don't know who's tuning into your show. But also back to the point of like sharing, some I do realize you can't share everything, but I feel like if there's something that you're at least interested in, that you feel like other people may be interested in, then share that. When I was doing More Please and having numerous guests come on, numerous guests that I thought were really good, I thought somebody would be excited about having that person and would share that episode or share that flyer or whatever. And sometimes they didn't. So sometimes it's not even about getting a celebrity guest, because you can get them, but then will people still tune in? Also, will that guest, make it known that they're on your show? That's also the other thing, is that, the guests that you have, there's a little expectation, whether they're a known person or not. You want them to share, hey, I'm going to be on Jack Farmer's show. Make sure you tune in. I'm going to be on JLJ Media. I'm going to be on Flobo's show. But sometimes they don't do that. They show up, they give you the interview, and then they keep it pushing. And you're like, but I was really banking on you at least sharing it once, like at least once, an hour before the show, a day before the show, 30 minutes before the show, something to get just a little bit of extra publicity outside of my own network. So one of the things that I really, really had to tell myself was, do not pay attention to the numbers. Pay attention to your content. I still remember the day during the pandemic where I was doing an IG Live. I had spent all day preparing for this, and 5 people were watching live. I got through it. I clicked off. I put everything away. I sat on my couch for the next week and did absolutely nothing, because I was so hurt at the fact that I have these thousands of people on my Instagram and all these friends who tell me every day, oh, you're going to make it. Your day is coming. Da, 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 da. Couldn't take 2 seconds to pop in and talk TV shows with me. I had it. So I had a moment, and then I had to remember, you know what you create is fun. What you create is good. Not everybody's going to tune in to the little stuff. They're going to tune into the big stuff. They're not going to tune into the little stuff. But you have to be proud of your work and continue putting work out there, because you don't know who really enjoys it. I've gotten a couple of messages recently of people saying, I enjoyed your dance party. I enjoyed More Please. I enjoy Dish and Days. But I didn't know that until they said something. So sometimes people are watching from afar, and that support is still appreciated. But also a click and a share is appreciated as well.
I find that that support we were talking about earlier is best after those shows where you don't have a lot of viewers and you're kind of kicking yourself and beating yourself up, and you're like, what am I even doing this for? That's when the support for me is always the most helpful, like to have that, like, man, no one even watched. Should I even do this? And then to have another content creator say, of course, man, sometimes you're gonna have people not show up. Sometimes it's not gonna be a big crowd. Sometimes if you're a comedian, people are gonna heckle you. Sometimes if you do a movie, it's gonna bomb. It's gonna happen, and you can't expect everything to nail every time. And that's where this, circling back to the support thing, that's always where I need it the most, is when I've bombed, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell people, you can always call me. I'm a cheerleader. I can't help it. And I'm told
that you are.
I am. I'm always like, oh, come on, let's work it out. All your feelings are valid. Obviously, your feelings are valid, but it's tough. You really put your hard work into this. You put your hard work into that show or that song or that book or that. When you really you worked hard on it. And you really, like I said, you spent all day putting it together. We all know what it's like to try to book guests. Folks out there, if you are not a content creator and you think it's just so easy to call up somebody and come on the show, that's not how it runs usually. And there's times where I'm still booking a guest, literally talking to that same person for like a week, and the show is tonight, and we're still finalizing. Like, what time is it again? I'm coming on. Like, are you coming on? And they're praying to come on to the Zoom call. Like, it's not that easy. And you have PR people sometimes, and other things go on, and the world is crazy, and it's not easy. So, but to say is that yes, support, having people you can call and trust. Do you guys each have people you can call and trust? You have people you can call and trust during that time period.
For guests or for cheerleaders?
No, I'm so sorry. Back to the support. I'm actually going off for Jack's thing. We have like personal people you could talk to for support that are content creators. You can actually call for support.
There's a book that I recommend anyone who is a content creator. It's called Epic Win. It's available on Amazon. I know the author, but he's not paying me to say this. And one of the cool things about his philosophy is that it's good to have your own high council, your own bullpen, your own board of trustees, if you're the CEO, using that example. And you feel that with people who are cheerleaders, people who love everything you do. That's my mama. Hey, Ma, I did this thing. Oh, great. You know what I mean? People that like your stuff but will challenge you, your coaches. Yo, JLJ, what should I do? Well, try this, try this, try this. I don't want to do it. All right, James. And then don't tell them this, but your haters.
Always say that.
The people that you know are always looking at you like, Hollywood, like, and keep them in your mind, like post them, tag them, and see how they respond to things. Because if my mom hates something, I think to me that means a lot more than if a hater hates something, and vice versa. If a hater loves something I do, I'm like, I won this round, you know, and that helps me to push through because again, we're kind of in the weeds here. There's no old book. There's no old steel mill for content creators. You know what I'm saying? My grandparents chopped sugar cane for a living out in the fields in Barbados. They got up and chopped cane for a living. My mom was a nurse and my dad's an electrician. There's no way I can explain what this is, but they know hard work. They know when hard work does not get thanked. They know when you want to give up because you want to provide for yourself and your family. And that's why I use to translate. But yeah, always have the high council. I recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have my group of people that I turn to for advice, for, I have this idea and, I want to run it by you to see how it is. James is one of those people. I also have my good friend Stevenson and my best friend Paris. And I feel like if I have their approval on something, then I should push forward with it. If anyone says, well, think about this and maybe change this, I'll look at it. If, depending on how I feel, if I feel really strongly like, you know what, nope, I'm gonna do it like this, then I'll do that. But I do take feedback and advice from those people for sure. And they're there for me when I am in my, forget this, I don't know why I create this, no one's paying attention to anything, poor me. They're there to lift me up again as well.
Yeah, and speaking of those high cancels and things as well, it's not always the same people for everything you're doing. For instance, my DJing people that I look to for advice are very different than my content creation advice or anything else I'm doing. There's always, you need to be looking to do, it's not just because someone may be a place for advice for one thing doesn't mean that they're going to be the person you look to for something else as well. So that's something I would definitely keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's funny, we joke about my age. Everybody does on my age. I'm older than you guys. But for me, I know it's crazy. But for me, in all seriousness, I like being around younger people.
I mean, that's not hard.
I'm surrounded my personal life around people my age.
Because he set himself up, and Tony just knocked it.
I know, I did. I just lined it up, and he just. I
like to surround myself with younger people.
It's so true.
I'm so sorry to interrupt your show here on JLJ Media. I do appreciate being here on JLJ Media. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. But in all seriousness, I like to surround myself with young people because in my personal life, around people my age or older. And in my other profession as organizer, I'm around older people a lot of times, and that can actually really bring you down a little bit because they have a different attitude than you. It's a very different world. So bringing on younger people like you guys, it energizes me. And Tony was the one, and here you go, Flobo. Tony was the one who came up with my late night show. I talked about doing it. He came up with the name, Talk A Lot with James Lott Jr. So you're going to blame anybody. That was actually Tony who thought of that.
I would never blame branding. I would never blame branding. I just hate puns. That's all.
I mainly suggested that because I'm like, you do talk a lot. So like, might as well just say talk a lot with James Lott Jr.
Was this a suggestion or an insult? I'm confused.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
It's always backhanded. It's backhanded. It's backhanded.
No, I was like, James is notorious for you because he has a last name like mine that can very much be used for a lot of branding. So I was like, you want to do a late night show? Just call it Talk a Lot with James Lott Jr. It
was a highlight of the quarantine for sure.
Yeah.
And then Tony had his Tell Me More on IG.
Yeah.
It was Tell Me More.
Tell me more with Tony Moore. I wasn't. I don't know who I was telling it to because there weren't a lot of people coming in and watching it, but I was telling it to him.
I watched both, and I love the crossovers too because sometimes you be on talk a lot, and then it was great.
Oh, well, that's when we force each other to be on each other's shows.
We do all the time.
We know that when we're on IG Live, if one of us requests to be on that live, you better not have the audacity to ignore it. Okay. You better click it.
That's very true. And it reminds me of the old days before you guys came to AfterBuzz.
I thought you were going to say before we were born. Before we came to AfterBuzz.
No.
That still covers a lot of ground.
That does.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Anywho, at AfterBuzz, which is dead, I used to always slide into Dishing Days. Yeah, no shame. I don't give a fuck.
No,
he really did. And
I used to slide in all the time. I used to always just slide in, and I'll never forget. We're buddies now. But Michael Mattis was one of the. I call him out. One of the newer member hosts at the time. I don't know every time she's looking at me like, who is this bitch coming in here? I think he's gonna run things. And and he give me that look sometimes, like, why are you sitting down in here? And I remember telling Tony, should I come in anymore? But no, we're fine. We're fine. And even here we're fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Well, because James will literally bombard. I have no idea when he's coming in. I don't even know when he's thinking about coming in. And all I would know, I would be sitting there in the middle of something. The door would open, and I would have to adjust because you can't be mean. You can't be like, get out. You can't be like, So you just kind of welcome with open arms. You weasel them in, and then you keep going. That's what a professional does. Professional host.
The old yes and.
The yes and. That's but right. It was always great. Everyone.
The fans.
Yes, they did. They do enjoy when James comes on. Michael Mattis, however, took some warming up too, maybe. But James, the fans loved it.
but also it's one of those things, again, support. Going back to support, it's like we were a soap block. So almost kind of like I was crossing over. A couple of times they came on to our shows and surprised me and did that a couple of times. It was just kind of like the fans who watch, AfterBuzz, they'll watch everything sometimes. It was kind of like nice to go, oh my God, there's Tony in there, and there's Mike J. Freeman, they're hugging Lucretia Lyon, and people that we don't work together. We don't work together. It was kind of nice too.
But I think that's been my biggest gripe about our industry is that we don't work together. I understand that we all have rent to pay, bills to pay, and things like that, and you can't offer your services for free. But I do feel like when you know someone and you see what they're doing and you see where they're going and you can assist in any way, if they can throw you some money, that's great. If they can't, if they're struggling like you're struggling, then let your powers combine and create something that can generate money for you both. I feel like, don't quote me on this, but this is how I have the story in my mind. The director, Judd Apatow?
Judd Apatow?
Yes. Yes. So if you notice in a lot of his films, who are always in them? Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen, that whole gang of people, they consistently work together. And that's because when they started out, they all helped each other. So they're consistently doing that. And I don't know if I heard this from somewhere or if I just noticed it, but that's what I feel like we need to do as creators. If you see something that I do that you like and vice versa, and you have an idea that we should just learn how to work together and collaborate together. If I have an idea for a TV show, but I'm not a writer and you are, and you like the idea, well, let's work together. Let's hammer out a script. And then if there's a friend that can direct and edit, then we all just work together and really like build this out as much as we can, because now using our network and the people that we know, who knows, that show could end up, getting picked up by a network, or that show could at least be a web series that can get the eyes and attention of the industry that could set off to something else. We've seen that happen, and I'm going to use Issa Rae again. We saw that happen with Insecure. Insecure started off as a web show called Awkward Black Girl. It reached such success that it caught the eye of Pharrell. And then, then HBO came, and then it turned into Insecure. So, and that was Issa Rae pulling those people to the side and those hungry people aside, and like really creating something and making something. So that's been my biggest gripe, is that we don't use our skills to help each other out when we know that we could be of service to someone.
Good point, Tony. And I'll say, with you guys, you three, I guess Jack is the latest in my
hey,
collaboration. That's you. That I know that I'm safe with you guys. Also, that I know that we can try things out, and it's gonna be okay. Or that we're going to deliver. I know when I call Tony for something, I say, keep you on the show. He'll come on. I know I have to worry about. He will. If I tell him what I need or what's going on, he will, or I say follow my lead. He knows the same with me too. Like when you did your tell me more. I was your first guest. You're like, James, when you talk about organizing, I can do it. We have a relationship. Flobo and Jack too. I know I can call you guys and say, I got an idea. What do you think? And we go, okay, let's do it. And we'll try it. And it's actually a good kind of. And again, each of our camps now are coming, like right now in the chat room right now. Hello, everybody in the chat room. First of all, hello, everybody who's watching. There's a mixture of folks in here who are some of your fans, some of Tony's fans, some of Flobo's fans. They're all kind of coming together, and now they're going. Because I've gained fans and followers through other people's shows. That's kind of how that works. So I want to ask Flobo and Jack. So how important is collaboration? I love Tony's points about that. So you guys collaborate with each other, other people. How important is it for you guys?
Well, allow me to toot my own horn because no one's going to toot it for me. But I came at AfterBuzz. I'm using that as an example. I know we're not an AfterBuzz show, but I think a lot of my hosting stuff comes from there. So I came to AfterBuzz where a lot of things were siloed based on genre, day of recording, what have you. And it was a rough time for me to go in to the AfterBuzz fold. I came as a comic. There weren't very many pure communities, I found out until I started. And so when I got on a show, I made it a point to break down the boys club aspect. Like we talked about the heydays of the wrestling channel and how all of us I think 90% of us can go to any other person and talk wrestling about, or we watch shows together. I think a lot of it had to do with that desire to make that community. Now we're on our own and we're doing things, and I can call anyone that roster, hopefully, and pick up the phone, and they can come through, because that's important. Because if every person's empire is a building, if Jack builds a skyscraper, it's the most beautiful skyscraper. There's going to be a million people asking, hey, man, can you show them the penthouse? And that's great. But that's one city, one building in a desert. But if all of us build buildings, and let's say Jack gets hired, if Jack gets hired, he can say, have you seen Flobo's building? Have you seen Leslie Colon's building? Have you seen James Lott Jr. building? And now we have this city that makes us all look stronger. We are our own rat pack, or frat pack in that case. That Appetizer group's called a frat pack. We're our own frat pack because we created our own stuff, and we can combine like Voltron. And I think that's one thing that I tried really hard when I was at AfterBuzz to do. Sometimes it worked. I think wrestling worked. Sometimes these CW shows didn't work, but that was my thing. And I think it's super important because that strengthens everything. That strengthens guests, show ideas. Jack and I work on 4 hours of content together a week. And I can rely on Jack to be there. I got to be like, oh, Jack, you coming in this week? That says a lot.
Oh, I hate that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think obviously collaboration is important. I think the biggest misstep a lot of people have, though, obviously, once you have a network, now that I'm working with Flobo, now that we're all on shows together, it's very easy to be like, let's network together. But I think if you're someone who's trying to break in and create a network, the first thing you need to realize is you need to be able to provide value to people. And Tony, kind of to your point about kind of looking at people side by side and not up, it's because if someone's kind of above you and where you're trying to get, they have proven themselves to get there, and you need to prove to them that you're worth bringing up to their level. And so the thing that always gets me is that, the person that says, hey, can I be on your show? And I'm like, cool. Are you working on something? Do you have something going on? No. Well, then why am I bringing you on my show? What are you doing? Like, what's the point of all this?
Well, you know what? They see your show as valuable, and they just want to come on. They have no idea what they want to talk about. They just want to be a part of it, because that happens to me too, and I know it happens to James. And it's kind of like, well, what do you want to talk about? Like, like I'm familiar with like maybe what they do, but it's like I don't. What's the show? Like, what? Like, are we just gonna sit and like look at each other and like it's gonna be fun, or like what is it? So I totally get that.
Right. And so, I mean, even if it's like, I get it. Okay, let's say you have a show, I have a show, you'll be on my show and we'll use it to promote yours, and then I'll be on yours and we'll use it to promote mine. Cool, I get that. There's value there. But if you're just someone who wants to try to raise your follower count or make yourself feel good talking on a microphone, then you got to earn a spot. And now maybe you can provide value doing something else. Like maybe if you want to help me produce the show or create some graphics or something, then that's cool too. But I would say go into it, whatever you do, asking, how can I be valuable to you before I get to, reap the rewards of being on a show, because sometimes if someone came to me and said, hey, I can make cool graphics. Do you need graphics? I'd be like, yeah, that'd be amazing. Do you want to be on the show also? Cool. Now we're working together. But if you're coming at it from just I want to be on a show to hear myself talk, that doesn't work, I don't think.
But the thing is, you never forget those people who helped you out in some way. And as you move forward and as you grow and as you climb up the network ladder, you remember those people who, gave you those free graphics to do your show, or provided you with a great guest to be on your show. I am forever indebted to Ellis Mia, who created the More Please theme song. That was like, it's been the best, catchiest piece of music ever. But he also, what's also very great is that he sees the potential in me. He sees how great I am. He sees my value, and he supports that. And how could he support me? By creating something. And I remember, when he messaged me and he, because he knew I had a close relationship with a lot of drag queens, he was like, listen, I really want to like produce music with queens. If you can reach out to anyone. I said, sure. I'm like, tell me what you're offering. I'll send them a text. I can't promise you anything, but I have their phone numbers. I have their contact information. I'll be glad to say, hey, if you guys are working on music, this is Ellis's info. So reach out to him, and he's really good because he's worked with some big time people. And I don't ever mind doing that for anyone. And I think that, when you are very giving of that to yourself, you almost a little bit expect others to kind of hopefully do the same for you. Like when you post something on Facebook that says, hey guys, I need help with this. You want someone to reach out and say, hey, you know what? Let me steer you in this direction because I have this knowledge. And when you get crickets, you suddenly question your value, and you question who supports you, and you question like who's looking out for you. Because it's very disheartening, because we don't know everything. We don't know the steps to get towards something. We're hoping that within our network, someone does. And when someone doesn't take the time to say, go that way, it's kind of like, all right, but then those people are very quick to come to you when they see what you're doing, when they see the guests that you had on your podcast, when you created something, they're quick to come to you and say, hey, how did you do this? How did you do that? How did you get that person? What's their contact info? And it's left to like, well, do I now support you when you didn't support me? Like, what do you do? So it's this cycle of like, if we learn how to just support each other, then like we can all reach our destination.
100%.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll give a shout out myself to Mark Teshner.
We know
10-time Emmy. We know Mike Teshner. You know Mark Teshner.
Mm-hmm.
No, when I first started, before I started GH Report at Press TV 6 years ago, I interviewed him. And at the interview, he goes, "Oh, you're starting a new show for us, Jerry." He works at General Hospital as a casting director. And he also teaches classes and stuff. He's a legend in the business. He gave me his cell phone number, not his work number, his cell phone number, and said, "When you start your show, I'll connect you with the PR people for guests." It's like Hollywood. Sure, okay, sure, whatever. Literally, I was about to start my show. I texted him. 5 minutes later, I had an email. "Hi, I'm Barbara Roy at GHPR. Who would you like?"
Wow.
And I make sure I thanked him profusely. I sent him a little gift basket and stuff. I just was like, but he took that time. He didn't have to. He had to give two shits about me. I was just somebody, but we got along so well. He saw that there's some value in there somewhere. It took him 2 seconds to go, "Here's an email." He's like, "I can't promise what they're going to do, but here's an email, and I'll take care of it." And I had guests for my first episode. We were fine. So I'm like, I love that. Just like this little things like that. And it's true. I was on Let's Make a Deal last week. Okay, so I was on Let's Make a Deal, dressed as a taco, right? So everybody in the world, I got 10,000 likes. My phone was blowing up. All this stuff. I did a great interview with somebody the next day. It got like maybe 40, views. And that does feel so weird sometimes, right? It feels weird sometimes.
It's the same that I was talking about. People are there for the big stuff, but they're not there for the little stuff. Like when I was on Weakest Link, and I posted about it, I got so many likes and so many comments and all of this and that, and so many messages when it aired and this. But then here's the premiere of More Please. I have Lonnie Love from The Real on there. I have Anne Heche, all these people. And it was literally crickets on that. But when I did something that was nationally known and nationally recognized and was in millions of people's homes, it was like, "Oh my God, this is great. Congratulations. Oh, da-da-da-da." But like when I'm sitting here creating something based on something that I love to do, and I don't get that same love back, it does make you feel some kind of way. It kind of like, well, what happened to the 400 some people that was congratulating me on The Weakest Link? Why aren't you congratulating me on this? Like, and I get, and just thinking about what Jack said earlier, the content may not be for everyone, but still have that same like, congratulations, like, "Oh, wow, you landed that person. That's so good." Because that support is more important than you seeing me lose on The Weakest Link.
Spoiler.
Yeah, and when I say, and I should reiterate when I say that you can't share everything and like everything. I mean, there's clearly certain episodes that are more important than others. Clearly certain things that are more important than others, and things that people are doing that are more important than others. I always say, my personal thing is, anyone in my network, if they are pursuing something that I can tell is like a dream for them, I'm going to do whatever I can to help them out. Now, if someone tells me they've got some weight loss tea that they're a part of, then I'm going to say, "You know what? Good luck with that." But
come on, Jack Farmer, you can't talk shit about that with your broaster shit. What's going on there with that coffee?
Got him!
You can't talk about nobody's tea.
Get him!
Nobody's tea, Jack Farmer. I got you back, Jack Farmer. I know I'll get you back at some point.
I don't drink tea. All I drink is Broasters coffee from www.thebroasters.com. That's the only coffee I drink. I always make sure to use promo code BROCODE1 while I'm there. But
it's true.
But I mean, like the point being, obviously, if I see that you've got a huge guest, yeah, I want to share that. Look at you're being successful. This is amazing. As opposed to, again, that, hey, I'm part of this, multi-level marketing thing, which, hey, I get it. It's a hustle. Everyone's got to find their way to make money. But like, it's also, I don't think anyone was super passionate about selling vitamins,
It's a gig for some. I meant to Zoe.
Yeah, there's a question. Let me do my show. Okay. This is what I was going to do. I have a whole
more tea.
I have a segue. And I saw that earlier. I didn't forget. So I was saying collaborations, because we were talking about collaborations. So Tony Moore, you and a very popular daytime actress have done a series of videos together. So people want to know, actually, what was that like? So talk about that, because you know other actresses too. You've done stuff with, but like this series with Stacey Hyduke has been really fun. Talk about that.
Yeah. So Stacey Hyduke, who is currently playing Kristen DeMera on Days of Our Lives, for the longest time kept saying, you know, we should get together and dance. We should do a dance video. We should do a dance video. We should do a dance video. And I was like, okay. And then finally, I was just like, okay, let's do it. Like, we're like, you know, because sometimes what happens is you go back and forth, but someone has to be the person that says, when are you available? Because we're going to do it. So, so we got together one Sunday and we did Rhythm of the Night by DeBarge. And we wanted to do something because, you know, the world was like a mess, right? So we wanted to do something that brought lightness and love and laughter to the world. And I was getting, because we were still kind of going back and forth on the song. We weren't quite sure what. And then that song popped in my head. A little choreography popped in. I went over to her house. We played the song. I quickly showed her the steps. We were like, boom. And we shot it, because also both of us, our minds work real big. If it was up to us, we would have had a dolly, a rig, a jib, like this studio lights for this like 1 minute video.
Boom mic.
Boom, everything. And so, you know, we said, all right, let's get a shot of our feet, midsection. You know, I'm walking this way, you're walking that way. You know, we really worked on the video, come together in the middle of the street, dance, and then just part ways. So it's almost kind of like, I kind of come up with like the song and the concept, and then she'll go and edit it. And it's been a great collaboration. We've done that one. We tend to do two whenever we meet each other. So we did that one. We went to the Brady house and did the keep on, that whole dance in front of the Brady house. People loved. Then when Anne Reichen passed away from Chicago, I was just like, we should do something Chicago, something Fosse. So we got together and did Hot Honey Rag, a part of Hot Honey Rag. And then it was around Christmas. I was like, let's do the Charlie Brown Christmas and just like freestyle dance or whatever. So we did both of those. We have some other ones kind of planned, but it's like, it's something fun. It's something that lifts our spirit. We hope that will lift other people's spirit. And it's a collaborative effort. You know, we think of it, she edits, we put it out, and it's fun. So that's it with her. And that's how it came about. It just came about by just saying, hey, let's do this. And then finally saying, when can we do it? And making the plan and sticking with it and like just making it happen.
How hard is it to find doers?
Very hard.
No, seriously. I mean, because people, that's a topic also. So you have the support thing going on, but then also you have the idea and the concept. How do you find people to commit and say yes? Because I'm a doer. You know, you all three know that I'm a doer. I'm like, let's do it. Fuck it, let's do it. I'm ready to do it. But it's hard to find me running around. There's a lot of other people.
It's hard to find doers who see the value in what you created. Doers will always see what they do as like the best thing since sliced bread. Then you have to find other people who have that same feeling towards that project. And I think that's where magic happens, is when you can find, you know, when you create something and you present it to someone and they say, you know what, I feel very passionate, the same feeling as you do. Let's do this. And they have the same, like, what's your schedule like? I'm free on Wednesday, 3:00, perfect. And they show up and they bring the same energy and the same hard work to it. You have other doers who think like, oh, that's cute. And then you go, oh, okay, so you're not really serious about it. So now let me find, you know, the people who are very serious about it. And then something happens. And then from that collaboration, something magical is happening and it's starting to get traction. That person who didn't, I love the fact that I'm using hands to illustrate this.
Yeah,
the person, The other person who didn't see value in it at first, but sees that it's gaining traction, now all of a sudden they go, oh, hey, wait, y'all, let me be a part of that. So I feel like there's all different types of doers, people who want to do something, but it's at the end of the day, someone finding interest and value in what you're presenting to make them want to be a part of, to assist in whatever way that they can assist you.
I think you touched on something that's huge.
I'll tell you, those. Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I was going to say the big thing is, if you want to sort out who the doers and the not doers are, is getting that time in the calendar. You'll find the people who are always like, well, this week I'm busy, but I'll get back to you. Cool. Good luck. Best of luck to you. You'll figure it out. But the people who are doers will say, hey, this week is busy. Next Tuesday, as you said, next Wednesday, they'll throw out another idea. But the ones who are like, well, let's see how next week looks. After this month is done, let's try circling back. No, you're not interested. You're not interested in it. That's the fastest way to figure out if someone's actually a doer or not, is put it in the calendar. I'm a huge put it in the calendar person.
So it's true.
That's what I like about you, James. You're always you make sure it gets in the calendar. That's why we can do these. Is you're very good about that.
I know. I do. You guys are working with on other projects too, and I'm like, okay, when can you do this? I mean, I know, and if you, and because we are content creators, some of us have other jobs. But there are times when you are busy. Like you told me last week, you were really busy last week. So I said I can work around that. We'll figure it out. So I mean, that's kind of how that is. It does happen, but you're right. The ones who just never come around. Or now when I join the bandwagon, I'm bitchy. I'm like, no, you can't join anymore. You lost your chance. And I have no shame about telling people that. I'm done with you. But yeah, I'm Mr. Like, let's get on the calendar somewhere. At least have it somewhere. I'm an organizer. I can't help either. So let's get on the calendar, have it there, and we can work there from there. And I think because once you see it, it's more real than just this nebulous. Let's see how next week looks. It's going to look like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's what it's going to look like.
Right.
Every week
we're in lockdown. People's calendars aren't that crazy.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. I want to hear from Flobito. What are your thoughts on that?
Perhaps I'm an outlier here. I don't quite believe in the concept of doers and not doers. Because it's weird. Much like how we think we're the most compassionate person and the best drivers, we think we all are hustlers. That's just the way our culture is, because we associate the pursuit of work with hard work, and that means a success. So no one's gonna be like, yeah, I don't really do much. I kind of just hang around all day. So if you ask who's a doer, everyone's gonna raise their hand and be like, I'm a doer, yeah. Until we have a situation like Jack, when someone tries to say they can't do it and they disappear and they fade away. So I approach everyone as if they are a flake. That means I over communicate.
You have no hope in anyone.
No, I over communicate.
Oh my God, that's so
I will
funny.
send invites. I will follow up. Hey, just follow up. So you got that last one. You know what I mean? If you text me, I will text you back in an hour, because I don't want you to say, hey, I messaged you, never got back to me. I have a timer in my brain. 35 minutes or less, I'll get back to James. You know this. If I'm awake, you get any message back, because everyone's a flake to me until you're not.
Wow.
That's so funny. I love it.
That's also a t-shirt. Everyone's a flake. They're on the back till they're not.
They're not. That is a t-shirt. That is.
True story.
I love it. At flobito.threadless.com.
That's it, man. Sell everything.
Exactly. I know what's going on. No, but no, that's kind of funny, actually. I mean, that's a half glass empty way to look at things, which I can't do, but that's very interesting. I mean, that's very interesting. Let's go a little deeper into that. Let me put my life coach hat on for a second. So, Flobito.
Okay.
Is that also a way of protecting yourself?
Absolutely. I do live shows, right? So if I have a guest that goes, oh, that's that today, unless I write every show twice, I am boned. So yes, that is a way of protecting myself, because yes, I can do my after show, What's Up Flobo After Hours, by myself for an hour. I've done it before, but it's a whole different show. So yeah, when it comes to content, yeah.
And it happens so often with live shows too. People suddenly like,
oh yeah.
When you do live shows, the I mean, sometimes I feel bad asking people to be on a show because the bad things that happen to people who have a live show scheduled that are going to pull them away from being on your show, it just happens so often. Be like, oh, this thing happened, I can't make it. Really? It happened 5 minutes ago, right before the show happens, or that's when it happened to you? Okay, but it does. Unfortunately, it happens. And then they're the ones that come back to you and say, hey, when are we going to do a show together?
Right.
I can't think of, in the course of the pandemic or further, where I've been canceled on for one of my live shows. I think everyone
must be nice.
Yeah, I think everyone that has committed has committed, and I think I think because I catch them early on. When they're very hard to get in touch with, or when they're lackadaisical about replying, I move on to someone else. And I move on to the person who goes, yes, I'll do that. When do you want me? What time? Whatever. That are just like boom, boom, boom. Because this actually happened when I was doing More Please, and I was doing my Halloween special. And I had this idea in my head of a segment where people showed costumes that they can create just by using stuff at home, because we were all celebrating Halloween at home. And I was using every avenue to get people. I was in, the host LA groups posting stuff that I shouldn't have. I was in the AfterBuzz group. I was on my Facebook page. People were recommending people. And there were a couple of people who I would mention what it was, and it would take them so long to get back to me that I was just like, I'm not going to worry about them. I'm going to find someone else. And the people that I ended up going with were the people who were very like, I'll be there. What time? Here's my email address. When I reminded them, they were like, yep, I got it. And when they showed up exactly how I needed them to show up. So I think sometimes I can detect a flake, and I will always seek elsewhere and try to have a plan B, but I really try to stick to plan A.
See, I can't always detect flakes. I like to think I can, but I can't, because there's a couple of times where the night before we're going back and forth, the emails are, I'll see you tomorrow, and Flobo knows this, and all of a sudden we're doing recording and they don't show up.
Right.
Don't answer my text.
Oh, is that today?
I pretty much should have dragged you.
Right. It's like, but the thing is, I text you, you don't answer. And then somehow after the whole recording's over and I had to figure it all out,
that's when they reply.
They message you like, oh, did you call me? I'm like, no, bitch, I didn't call you. I texted you. I mean, you know who I am and what's going on. I'm like, I don't know what you try to play it off. And so it's always that thing. It's like, and then I go, then I find out they're a flake as I'm talking to them now. They're like, oh, okay, now I'm getting it. You're not really, whatever. And I always feel bad because for me, and because now that I'm casting people in shows, my audio dramas, and all three of you are in my audio dramas, that I want to give opportunities to people. And so I feel like you're taking up a slot for somebody else who wants it. So don't string me along, or don't half-ass it. To either commit or don't. I mean, because now I got to try to find somebody else, which is great sometimes, but sometimes it's too late and I got to figure it out. Oh, I got to either cut the scene or I acted it or something. But I feel like there are people out there who do want the opportunities. There's a million folks in Los Angeles who want to do stuff. Millions of them, literally millions of them. And so it's like, I'd rather work with those people. So all three of you kind of are saying that. It's like, if this person's not interested, just move on. You kind of have to just keep moving on. So is that kind of the secret to the sauce, is that you can't really sit and super rely on just to keep it moving? Is that what it is?
I mean, that's my thing. I come from this. I come from treat others as if you want to be treated. So when someone asks me to be a part of something, I make sure I can be 100% committed to them. Also knowing that they may ask you to do something, but chances are it's probably going to be more than what you're thinking. So, to really stay committed to that as much as possible. When I feel like I can't make the commitment anymore, then, communicate. As far as if it's an ongoing thing, then let them know and ahead of time, so that way they can pivot the way that they need to pivot. But I will stay 100% committed to something once I say yes, because I've thought about it. I've looked at my schedule. And sometimes things do come up very last minute, but I will communicate with someone as early as possible so that way they can figure it out. Because there have been some cases where, like, I know the two Chris's, James. There were two guys named Chris's. They created an IG show called Quarantine with the Chris's. And they asked me to be a guest on the show. I said yes. And then it was one of the times that I actually picked up work. So, and I thought I was going to be off of work in time to do their show. But I was communicating with them throughout the whole day. And they were just like, it's no problem. It's no problem. We have a backup plan. It's no problem. And then maybe a couple hours before the show, I was like, there's no way I'm going to get out in time to do your show. I'm super sorry. But I made sure that the next time they booked me, that my schedule was 100% clear, because I felt so bad being that guy that flaked on them the last time. But all it took was communication. That's it.
Right. And I think there's nothing, I think if you can't make something and there's a valid reason for it, look, I get it. Like James, if I was going to have you on my show, but you said, hey, I just got cast in Young and the Restless, so I'm busy. I'm like, yeah, go get it, man. Like, live the dream.
I'll pivot.
No big deal. But I think it's when I always say a lot of times when you're doing stuff like this, you're doing it for free. That's just the nature of the business most of the time. If you commit to something, you got to act like you're getting paid for it. If you say yes to something, it's a commitment, and it doesn't matter if you're getting paid nothing. It doesn't matter if you're getting paid $1 million. Well, if you're getting paid $1 million, it gets priority, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like, just because it may not be a big thing, if you commit to doing it, you're committing to doing it. And I get that from, my background is in DJing, and I've done some events that are smaller events, but that doesn't mean I don't treat them as if they are a big event. You got there's a saying in wrestling, and Flobo says it to me all the time, is if one ticket gets sold, you give them the whole show. And I think that's the way you need to treat any commitment you make, is that if you make the commitment, you give them everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was being talked about all the time. I said, it doesn't matter. Like our soap shows, we had to start from the bottom. We had like one viewer from the beginning. We had to start somewhere. You still give full show. You give good show every single time, because that one person will tell somebody, and they'll tell somebody, and then that's how it grows. You do shitty shows, no one will show up. I mean, even if it was just one person, you won't grow to 2 or 3 people. So you give them the full thing. You just give it to them good. I want to ask you guys a question. Actually, I wanted to ask this last time. We ran out of time. I get a chance to ask you this. How confident are you guys in your hosting abilities? How confident are you guys as hosts? I've never asked any host that ever in my entire life, and I'm like, I wanted to ask that last time, so I'm going to ask you guys. How confident you are? Anybody can go first.
I think it always depends.
I'll pick Flobo. Flobo, you go first.
Oh.
Jack's gonna go, man. Jack was all
No, I want to hear Flobo now.
I don't know how to answer that question because growth is not a destination, man. It's a process. I will say this. Coming from comedy, I had a little bit of a background. I'm not a journalist in that way. So when it comes to the hosting things of like research, I'm just coming in from a person who likes something and digs deep. So on that side, I can get more work on as far as researching, fact checking, verifying, using alternate sources around the spectrum. That's the small, because I'm an entertainment host, But I will say over the past year, and because now I do shows with different energies, I do a sports show, I do a late night talk comedy show, I do a critical film analysis show, I do a Star Trek show. I think I have enough training weekly that I'm finally confident in my work, to the point now where I am looking to have non-friends and family watch, or not necessarily promote, but like have bigger guests. Like everyone wants bigger guests, but I do feel now if I got Oprah, she totally would wrote over my conversation, but I can at least hang for 3 minutes with Oprah. Whereas this time a year ago, I'd be like, oh my God, it's Oprah. She's on my show. And it's a progress, because and there's a balance there. You don't want to get too into your own thing, because someone will come by and be more affable or use different words or whatever, or be a lot more charismatic. But I do think there's a growth there to the amount of reps I've had week to week.
I think you're a
So
good
yes,
host.
I'm a good host.
I think you're a good host. Jack Farmer, what are your thoughts about yourself and your hosting?
I think it's to Flobo's point. I think there's different types of hosting and there's different ways about doing it. I think that I have the potential to hang with anybody. Now, different shows require different types of hosts, and you got to learn how to fit in, and do what certain shows want you to do. It's something I've definitely learned being guests on different shows. Certain energies are different on certain shows. Certain ways of carrying yourself are different on different types of shows. But I'm confident that if I'm given the shot, I can hang with anybody. Doesn't necessarily mean I think I'm the very best host that's ever lived. But I think that if given the opportunity, I have what it takes to hang with whoever there is out there if I'm put on that platform.
It's funny, Jack, because I don't know wrestling like you guys do, and I watch some of your shows sometimes. I think you're a very good wrestling host. Like you're good. You have that energy. You have that voice.
Oh.
You kind of like. I can see you talking about it. You are. No, you are. You really are.
It's true.
I mean, I am the best host ever lived. So,
The Howard Cosell. Yeah.
Now, Tony, you're the OG to me because I've known you the longest. I've watched you live. I think you're so good. You're so good live. That I've worked with you on camera and everything. But how do you feel about your hosting?
I feel confident in my hosting. I always feel like I can improve. Yeah. That like if someone called me tomorrow and said, host this, there will still be some nerves there, but I would feel confident in how I prepare and how I present myself and how I'm able to like read a room to know which Tony to present. Because if it's something in West Hollywood, you're about to get all this. But if it's something like, like this, where I can just casually just be myself and every now and then do a flutter, then you're going to get that. So, yeah.
Wait, am I a West Hollywood friend then? I got that.
Oh my God.
Well, if you got that, Tony, you have to ask yourself, what did you do to get that, Tony?
Exactly. So, why you get snaps, Flobo? Why you get
I already
that?
deserved it.
That's right.
Go ahead, Jack.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was gonna say, Flobo, I know you've been in front of live crowds before. James and Tony, have you guys been in front of live crowds, and is it different as a host?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Tony, you go first. Tony.
Your confidence level, I should say, is it different via live versus recorded?
I feel like no matter what you do, nerves are going to be there. But there's something very different about a crowd, because the crowd looks to you to command the room, to give a sense of the room, to create a certain environment of the room. And that's your job to do that. That's actually how I started hosting live events. So I had to learn very quickly to be quick on my feet. Somebody, you can be like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You suck. Oh, no, wait a minute. You have to learn how to like pivot and like make it so that you don't get upset, but that you go, aha, I got you, but but then like keep it going. And if at some point you almost kind of incorporate that person, you know what I mean? So it's such a different feel when you are when you're standing there and you have a mic and you have a crowd. And there's so many things going on in your head. You have to read the room. You have to know the show that you're hosting, how to present yourself, how to interact with people. There's a lot going through, but you still have to be confident, but the nerves are still always there.
I've seen Tony Mate. He's hilarious. He is fucking hilarious.
Oh, okay.
And no, you're good. No, you're good. And it's funny because I've been to some of his West Hollywood stuff. And he because especially at Mickey's where he did a lot of his stuff at, it's outdoor, indoor. So people are walking by and like heckling you or watching or cheering you on. So like he will incorporate that person on the other side of the tables, and it becomes really funny. And so you're good. You're good. No, so for me, I come from live hosting also. I come from live hosting and then radio. That's where I came from, where it's at the moment. And also what Tony didn't mention, but it's very true too, you're usually doing a show. So you have to remember the schedule. So you're trying to incorporate everybody, make people kind of laugh, keep the housekeeping, I always say housekeeping, make sure you have the housekeeping announcements and how many times you're supposed to say it. And when I was on radio, how many times you do station identification? I mean, I gotta make sure you say that in there. Plus, you're also trying to remember what's the topic, and if there's a game in there, or if there's like you have guests coming, or if it's a performance. So you have to remember all of that. Plus, be funny and host a goddamn show. I mean, it's like all of that, and then make it look effortless, and make it look like you're not sweating. Now, I'm like Tony in the very beginning when I started before a live thing like that. I feel like I want to throw up usually. Or take a dump or something in my pants, and then I just kind of.
Why'd you put a direction? That's...
either it's your direction.
We got the dump. It was in my pants. Sorry.
You know, that's how it is. That's how it feels. And then usually, all of a sudden, something takes over. It just because I've done it so much now for so long, but something takes over. It's because it's like, no, James, you enjoy doing this, so go out there and have a good time. And it's funny, either one of two things, and maybe Tony can make this too. Either they know your persona already, so they're expecting you to, they're there for you. They're ready for it. Probably similar to stand-up comedy. If you are somebody who's done in front of some certain groups, they want you to succeed. So they're looking for you to come out and give them Tony Moore or James Lott Jr. or Flobo Boyce or Jack Farmer. They want to see it. Or they don't know you, and they're still looking to you to entertain them. Mm-hmm. And they're looking to see what is this person going to do and what are they. So you have to. So it's either one or two. And so I always know that. And you're right. You have to read the room. It's just that simple. You kind of have to see what everybody's kind of. Some things kind of bomb. Some things don't work as well. Some things you find look really well. You know. And it's kind of. I love the energy. I spoke at my first. I emceed my first event. I think I was like 25, and it's in front of 5,000 people. And as we said before in another show, I'm very fearless. I was like, sure, I'll do it. I can do anything. I wanted to throw up 3 times before I went on stage. But when I got out there, it was amazing. And then when I was in my 30s, I was a chairman of a board of this organization in San Francisco. They had the opening of the Gay and Lesbian Center. I had to be there and speak and actually tell talk about stuff. And it was like 10,000 people were there. It was this big deal. So I mean, I'm used to those crowds. Recording sometimes is harder for me than live. Recording sometimes I get a little tongue-tied or I get a little more nervous, but it's like the live stuff, I'm like, I can handle this because there's no room for error, or if there is error, you can play it off. I can work it off. Recording sometimes is a little tougher for some reason for me than actually live.
This is true.
Recording's tough because you don't get the immediate feedback. So like if you make a joke, you don't necessarily hear laughter and you don't know if it landed and you don't know if what you're doing is working because it doesn't get played till later. But live, what's nice about that is if you do try something and it doesn't work, you can go, oh, I need to change what I'm doing and adjust there. But when I first, because I started with live crowds too, for me, it was a weird transition going to situations like this where if I say something, I have no idea if what I'm saying is working or good or annoying people or killing. I don't know. And that was a really weird transition for me at first, to be honest.
I figure for you DJs, you almost get immediate reaction because you play a song and nobody goes out there and does nothing. Everybody starts to clear off and go to get drinks. And it's before the song you played for that reason. Then you're like, oops, okay. I mean, is that I used to DJ 2 years ago, a little bit. But so, I mean, is that still kind of true? I mean, I've DJed a long time. Is that kind of true?
Not for Jack. He hits every time.
Every time.
Every time. That's right.
Well, you know, there's a lot of, and I don't step over your word, Jack, but a lot of it's very, very similar. When you're doing, at least for me, and I'm told this a bunch of times, Jack, so this is for the crowd. Performing live is amazing because you get to wrestle the crowd. You are interviewing everyone at once. You're inviting everyone to your party. You can be as subdued or as outlandish as you want. Use the whole instrument. You can walk. You can point your body. You can, squat down and be like, "What you eating over there?" Like, you can really get intimate if you want to. Much like when you're DJing for an event, you can drop a song and see if it works. If it doesn't, oh, that one is not hitting what it used to be. Oh, this one hits. Oh, this is dope. I'm gonna let that know from other stuff. One of the biggest adjustments from doing these well, even before the pandemic, but now the pandemic is that since I'm seated, half my instrument is cut off. And so one of the things I had to learn is find a way to get myself an energy that is natural for this, because you don't want to be like Krusty the Clown, right? But at the same time, to get the point across. And you'll notice, compared to many hosts, I talk with my hands more. I do one thing I don't do on stage is I laugh at my own jokes. You're not supposed to laugh at your own joke as a comic, but you kind of have to, because there's no feedback when someone says something, and there's also delays. So when your host is nervous being on your show, and to make a joke, I can't be like, next question. So how was your mom? You know what I mean? It would totally fall flat. So the technical things I had to learn, but the result's the same, in that you want to make sure, in this case, it's like DJing for a live stream on Twitch. Like, you don't know if you're hot, but you look at the comments and go, okay, I'm on the right path, or everyone left. Damn, let's adjust.
It's funny. Go ahead, Tony.
My instrument has always been this, like whatever I say, think, or react, like my facial expressions and what I say has always been like there. So even in this situation, I feel like I'm still the same as a host, but I do miss that crowd interaction. I do miss those spontaneous moments. I look back at, which thankfully I can do this still. When I hosted at Mickey's and I hosted the drag show, not in drag, but just like this, it's fun to go back and remember those moments of a joke that I made with one of the girls in the front seat, or the cute boy that I saw. And I would always ask the same 4 questions, which are, do you have a job? Do you have your own place? Do you have a car? And do you like chocolate? And that joke, and by chocolate, I didn't mean like the flavor.
We got it, Tony.
Okay.
I mean, the flavor does count there.
I mean, this is true.
I'm still confused. Can you explain it a little bit more?
Yes.
After dark.
After
Don't worry, Jack Farmer. I'll show you. I'll show you better than I can tell you. But just seeing those crowd interactions and those moments and being able to go back and watch that is great. And I sometimes will go back and watch myself anyway, because sometimes it's hard to, but I do it to study myself, to see what it is that I'm doing, see how I'm like interacting, see if like what I did made sense and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I watch myself sometimes just because I want to see, like, what did I say? Sometimes, I mean, because you do these live shows, like, what did I say?
It's or how you look. What are some of the little nuances that you do that you're not aware of? All of that. All of that.
I'm like Flobo. I
talk with everything.
Hand. But it was funny. One time, I know it's everything. But one time, there's yes, Tony. Give us face. No, there's one night I can't watch because I watched it back like maybe 3-4 months ago because I was kind of curious, and that's when my Bell's palsy was hitting and I didn't know it. And that's the night before my face went paralyzed at AfterBuzz, and I did 5 shows in a row, and I saw my face doing weird stuff throughout the night, and I didn't even know what was going on. I had an earache, and I didn't know what was going on. And so for me, it's too hard for me to watch those. That was kind of weird because normally I'd watch any episode and start laughing and like, oh my God, it was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one night, July 1st, 2018, I can't watch. And it's like, I can't watch those shows. It's too painful for me. But other shows I can look back and go, oh yeah, I did this. Or all the ones where I cry on them. I cry on every show. And I was like, oh, there I am crying again on another show about something. I do. I can cry all the time. I get sensitive on
it's
TV.
fine. Crying all the time is okay, man.
Well, I'm a man. I cry.
Yeah.
Man can weep. I do.
That's not a weep.
I do.
You cry.
That is a cry. I cry all the time. No, but it's funny because the joke audition days, if I've been out a while and I come back, I always have something to say. And so he goes, hey, goes James, I got something to say. And usually I'm thanking somebody or fans for something. And these fans,
it takes about 10 minutes.
It's about 10 minutes. And I am crying at some point. But yes, I think, but I like to watch myself sometimes to see like, yeah, that was good, or that transition was good, or that question was really good. Sometimes I don't remember some of the questions. I don't write down questions. Everybody I don't know this. I don't write down. I write down points that I want to make, and I make questions out of them. But there's times when I was like, that was a good question. I want to remember that next time for somebody. Do you guys watch yourselves, Flobo and Jack, at all?
Yeah, I do. Not every time, not as much as I used to. When I first really started getting going, I watched everything back. Because like you guys said, you never know. Like there's certain things that you can leave a show thinking you crushed it. And then when you go back and look, you'll find those moments where maybe, I noticed like when I first started, there would be moments where I would talk, I'd be like, hey, so this is a point and this point and this point and this point. And then someone else would talk and I'd say, yeah, so anyways, blah, blah, blah. And I'd like come back, when it came back to me, I'd light up again and I'd be like, what am I doing? I can't do that. You got to kind of like, or I would just start looking at something off screen. I'd be like looking at the, like the clocks were always up top. So like I'd look up at the clock and just be like, like on screen, it looks silly. And you have to like, it's good to know like, oh, what am I doing during these times when I'm not speaking? Or when do I have something that was brought to my attention? I used to say absolutely all the time. And I was like, oh, wow, I am saying this all the time. I need to quit saying absolutely. So it is good because that's how you fine tune those little things.
I have to give you some credit because AfterBuzz TV sometimes, depending on who you got as an engineer,
there was a lot going on.
Yeah, so I would be times when I'm thinking I'm off camera. I'm thinking I'm off camera, and I'm not off camera. And I'm picking my nose, or I'm like taking a drink or something, or I'm like talking to somebody over here off camera.
I'm eating a pizza roll.
I mean, like we had all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm still on camera. So, Jack, to your point, I had to learn how to always be ready.
Mm-hmm. Even if the person talking to you is next to you, you're on screen. You have to remember those things.
Flobito, do you watch yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. And I think that's one of the cool things that a lot of people don't give Jack Farmer credit for. When I started on the wrestling shows, Jack with me on both times a week. Well, you were there. I would listen to myself twice. I would listen to or watch the visual version for those same cues, and I will go back and listen again to the audio version because I am a fast talker. Sometimes the visual aids of things can help some of my stuff be intelligible. I will go back to the podcast version and I go, well, that's way too fast. You got to slow it down for everyone because James, you know this as someone with a top tier IQ.
I talk fast too.
You talk fast because you're in flash time. You think you're going slow, but to everyone else around you, it's like a hyper speed time. So if you go back to my first ever hosting shows, I'm like, you know what I mean? But now I'm like, welcome back to Draped in Gold, presented by Gamerware, because that came from the hours of doing it. And also to the video game stuff, I do some hosting for that too. I do commentary for that. Much like Jack's point, when you're in the thick of it, it's an actual game happening and you're commentating over it, you do rely on certain choice words and phrases. And so over time, you got to rotate them out like a mannequin in a department store. Oh, wow, I was using hammer down too much. Bring it down. I'm using absolutely and agreeing with my commentator partner too much. Let's try this metaphor. Let's try that joke to make sure it's fresh. You don't become like a video game version of yourself. What a move. What a goal. You know what I mean? So, yeah, a lot of that comes to part of like the nitty gritty of working on your craft.
I have to call you out real quick, Flobo. Did you just try to subtly call yourself high level IQ? You're like, James,
yes.
You're like, James, you have a high level IQ, so you also talk fast. Like, what was that just like a subtle try to slip in?
it was an inside joke. I actually have it here. I have a left-handed calendar, and on Tuesday it was people who are left-handed tend to have high IQs. So I felt pretty smart with myself. So I go on Instagram, I'm like, 139 and loving it. And James was like, oh, that's cute. I'm like, what? James is like, no, man, I'm way past that. So it was a jab at James. It's all good.
It was a conversation we had, and I just mentioned that I went to a gifted school when I was a kid, La Tierra.
You see this guy?
You went to a gifted school?
Yes.
Like X-Men.
They actually wanted. What's funny is that back in the 70s, so they didn't have.
Also, it's the first one.
It was the inaugural gifted school. Yes, exactly. Stone tablets. Ran to school with no shoes on. Yes, exactly.
Were the Little House on the Prairie girls there?
Exactly. Lost in a Prairie. Exactly. Put straps on them, the whole thing, right? Ring the bell. Totally. No, but the thing was, when I went to a regular public school, they tested me and they were like, first they wanted to skip me a couple of grades. My mother said no for social reasons. She was like, no, don't do that because he's not mature enough to go to the 4th grade or 5th grade. He's like 7 years old. So we didn't do that. So they said, well, we have a gifted school. So they bust me out of my regular school to go to this gifted school with all these people. So that's the discussion we had. I had
all
a very,
those
very
normies. Yeah.
I had a very, very high IQ. So that's we were talking about that the other day.
So no shade,
yeah.
Jack. I'm just shading James instead.
Okay.
Yeah, he's backwards shading me on some level. That's what this all comes down. Everybody shades me. That's what it comes down.
I've never been confused as being someone with high, like super high IQ, so I'm not.
You are to me, Jack. It counts.
You're pretty, Jack. Don't worry about that.
That's all that matters. That's what I get by on.
Yeah, it'll be smart. Just be pretty.
That can get you very far. Very far. Very far.
In this town, it can. It can get you sometimes.
I'll tell you, you don't see super attractive people waiting for the bus.
That's a lie. That is a lie. I have seen some attractive people waiting for the bus, and I'm like,
did you pick them up?
Thought about it.
So, someone does. That's why they don't ride the bus.
Thought about it, and then I said, you know what? I don't know that person. So some trickery involved.
Yes. No, but it's interesting. I remember my first radio show, our first radio episode ever. They were like, James, you did a great job. It was good. So make sure you listen to it later. We give you the audio file. Listen to it later. But before I even left the building, my mother calls me, James, I heard your first show. We're so proud of you. I just want to advise you that you said so like 900 times. So. And so when I listened to it, I was like, oh my God, James, guys, cut my throat out. Because I was just like, if I say so one more time, I'm going to shoot myself in the face. So I'm glad I listened to it. I'm glad she actually, that's the last time she was listening to my stuff anyway. But I was kind of glad that I actually, because my mommy doesn't listen to my stuff at all. I'm going to shame her right now. She don't listen to my stuff. She don't give a shit. Your mommy does. His mommy does.
My mom only watches What's Up Flobo. Like the one that I do that no one watches. Oh, my mom does that. The rest is like, too long. Like, for real? Like, your baby boy's trying out in the streets, ma. You know, like, I can't be bothered.
My mom watches. My mom texts me during my live shows.
She won't go to the chat room then.
She will not. I have to send the link to my mom so that all she has to do is just pop in. She will not sign into the chat, but she will text me all of her thoughts during the show.
Freedom access, yeah.
Yes.
You go on, Mildred. Dylan Matthews says, you guys have lots of gifts, so you'll always see yourselves. All three
Dylan Matthews will gift an entire show and send it to you. So that's about 200 gifts that you're getting.
Dylan Matthews, I don't think you've ever gifted me at all. So I don't know.
Oh, you're getting gift now.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, bro. Because I'm like, wait, I make so many faces in 1 hour? What is wrong with me? Am I Jim Carrey? Like, it's so bizarre. So 200 ways doing like weird ass faces. Like, you know? It's nuts.
It is fun to see him, though. It is fun to see him. Like Flobo and I will sometimes communicate via Dylan GIF. Sometimes we'll just like send them back and forth.
I have one that says, "K Jack, but you wrong though." Saved him. It's ready to go, just like the nuclear codes.
I've seen that many times. Many times.
They do come in handy though.
Yeah, they're fun. I know Dylan do the day stuff, and I know he's done Tony because Tony has a lot of gift worthy stuff during the shows. So yes.
What can I say? I'm giftable.
Giftable. So one of the last things I was like, I talk to you guys forever, of course, but I don't want to keep you on here forever. But one last thing I would say is, so how much do you like being a content creator? Like, is this something you really just, this is what you really want to do? I'm not saying specifically the specifics, but like just in general, content creation, do you love doing it? Minus all the problems and all that stuff and everything. Is this your destiny?
I love it. I have fun with it. I hate the logistics of it. Like you said, I hate setting up the camera, and I hate dealing with StreamYard and uploading things and all that good stuff. But I love this. I love chatting about things. This is the kind of stuff I'd probably be doing. I always say I would be doing this whether there was a camera or not. If there wasn't a camera here, we'd probably be talking about all this stuff. It would just be over a FaceTime or something else instead. It would be the same thing. It would just not be uploaded to the internet. So I love it. I have a great time with it.
Flobo.
I always felt the dream would be stand-up comedy. I felt that was what got me into. I said this on a recent podcast too. Like I became a host through AfterBuzz because I was a comic with no fans. And so I wanted to build my profile, get a demand to have someone go, "Oh, the guy from this show is going to come to town. Let's give him money to do it." But I was, that's the idea, right? But since doing this, AfterBuzz was okay. I mean, it was a very good training prompt. But like jumping off and starting What's Up Flobo last December, and especially with the lockdown, and I just said going full tilt, doing all these different shows. I can't imagine it this anywhere else. Like if every crowd played the same, this is what I want to do. Granted, I'll have a bigger studio and bigger equipment, and I'll be able to hire someone to make clips and promote the show so I can just show up and do it. But like to be able to bring levity to things that people don't think need levity, or my own voice on different things. I mean, that's all you really want, man. All of us try to chase legacy. You know, when I was a kid, I really wanted a statue. People pay tens of thousands of dollars to their old colleges to have wings named after them. I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make enough money to give my old college plaque somewhere. But I can tell you one thing, though, and that's from the AfterBuzz days. When someone comes home from their stupid job, when their boss is in their face, smelling like old burnt coffee, but not Bros's, because that's actually good coffee, some badass whack coffee, and they can't stand their life whatsoever, but they flip on the show that I am on just to unwind, and they don't kill nobody, then my job is done, man. That's what I like to do. Why not do that all the time? You know?
Like that. Tony Moore.
No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to recreate the windy thing. For me, I have a very like creative mind, so I do love creating. I do it because I like entertaining people. I think there is a part of me that wishes I could see the next step in what I created. Because it's great to create, it's great to test out, it's great to put it out there. But then what? What do you do once you create and you have 20 plus shows under your belt? Like, what do you do with that? Do you keep doing what you're doing, or do you set another goal? So I think for me, I love the creating part, but I hate the getting stuck part. The part where I'm just doing, hoping that, you know, that one person will see what I'm doing and will go, "Hey, I see what you're doing. Let me take you here," instead of me going, "Hey, this is what I created. What can we do with this now?" So that's it. But I love creating, though. I love all the shows that I put out.
Well, I, you know, in all seriousness, we'll joke around and everything, but I admire all three of you, and I look to all three of you for.
You're okay.
I was going to say likewise, but I don't know what Tony thought.
Yeah.
You all right.
Okay. I have notes.
Tony
On a person? Damn.
Tony got the little brother I never wanted and got anyway.
Savage.
So you tell your parents, don't have any more children, and they have one more just to bug you, and that's Tony.
Wow.
No, but I admire all three of you, and I think you guys are all three really good at what you do, and I think we're gonna grow. You guys are gonna grow. Everybody's gonna grow, and you're gonna be great. So, and you're great already. So that's how I look at it.
We're doing great. Everyone's doing great. We got coffees, we have shows, we have multimedia platforms. Yeah. Like, you know, we're all doing great. We're doing great.
I mean, you know, in a sense, I mean, we could, like I said, we could be doing worse. And we're lucky to be in a country that we could actually do this kind of stuff at a time period where we can. I mean, we couldn't do this probably 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So I'm glad we're able to do it. The technology lets us do this. It was much harder to get into this business, and we're actually in the business.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think the thing that you have to remember as a content creator is to, one, not be so hard on yourself, and remember where you started and where you are now, and realize that it was a journey, but you're better now than you were before.
Yes.
And appreciate what you have now, because you know, when something was just a thought and you can see it into fruition, like that's a whole nother thing of gratitude. And you need to allow yourself to bask in that gratitude and realize that there's someone who has been sitting on an idea for years and never did anything about it, and wish they could have done it. And here you are doing it. So if you have an idea, do it. If it comes with bumps in the roads, it's fine. It's a learning experience, but just do what you have in your heart and in your mind to do, because you never know what could happen.
And on that, I like that. You said better than I can even say it. You guys.
And that's what I'm here for.
Jack C. Farmer, this is
Yeah.
your turn.
My turn.
Your turn to tell people where they can find you and whatever you want to promote. You go right ahead.
Yeah, you can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the Everything Tournament with Flobo and Evan Mack and Heidi Mack, where we literally debate everything every Thursday. I'm also doing the Anytime radio show. We took a little break for the holidays, but we're back starting tomorrow on Monday with lots more good music. I also do the AEW Elite of the Week after show, where I break down all sorts of fun stuff for AEW Dynamite.
And he also has joined my cast of
Claus. Whoa, that's premium content, man.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's a big signing. It's a big deal. I've decided to take my talents to Claus.
How many points you getting in the back end, bro? Congratulations.
I don't like to talk money, but
fair.
It's let me just say it's a sizable, fair amount.
I can tell you one thing: they're gonna go to syndication after that, man. Congratulations.
Congratulations to the cast, because they're the ones that are gonna reap the rewards of my fame and stardom joining.
That's what's up. Legend.
Yeah, he's fired. Okay.
Well, I don't want to promote stuff now. I'm afraid to promote stuff because I'm on one of your shows too.
Do it, Flobo. Do it.
If you guys have known me the past 2 years, my website is flobito.com. But if you want to know about the shows I'm working on, it's newamsterdam.com, KWAmsterdam.com. But I want to sing on a show that I get to co-host with my best digital friend, Jack Farmer, drapedingold.com. We talk about NXT and NXT UK. We're doing things, man, in wrestling space.
I'm waiting for you guys to actually draped in gold.
Me too.
While you do your show.
Just like gold dust and
I'm waiting for it.
Welcome.
Hey, I'm waiting for the gold to be draped over me also.
Wait.
Anytime.
Yeah, that's expensive, man. Come on. Oh, and Mistletoe Road. I was at Mistletoe Road, JLJ Media. I was at Mistletoe Road. Check that out now, wherever you stream all your audio podcasts, all that stuff. And coming this year, not only am I going to be on a show I can't even talk about yet, but Take the Wheel coming this spring on JLJ Media.
JLJ Media. That's right, bitches. Yes, a show that Flobo wrote, and we're co-producing together, and it's gonna be a series. And Marissa Serafini made our slate. So shout out to Marissa Serafini, does my slates. And so we're gonna work it out. But yes, he's on Mistletoe Road. And thanks for the folks who actually listen to that series. It's a nice little hit for us. So we'll be back next season to find out what happens with the next season. Yeah. And my chocolate twin, who I asked, he didn't remember how he started that. He just came up with it one day on the show with us. And we don't look anything alike, but we're chocolate twins. And
again, like I was in the midst of hosting, and you kind of just introduce someone and you come off the cuff, and I just said my chocolate twin, and it has stuck.
It has the fans say it all the time. They say it to me all the time. Oh my God, it's chocolate twins. They say it all the time. So Tony Moore, Yo G.
So when you said you like chocolate, you mean two guys now? Like, I'm all confused.
Wait, what?
I'm like, oh, huh? What? Like, what?
I am not that kind of girl, Flobo.
You're gonna get me fired, man. You're gonna be banned from JLJ Media.
The audacity to insinuate. Come on, I'm on ChristianMingle.com. Thank you.
Oh, my sir. No problem.
I'm a farmers only guy.
That's a pun.
Of course you are. Well, you guys can find me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony. You can find me every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, recapping the week's episodes of Days of Our Lives. You can also find my web series, More Please, on my YouTube channel, Lounging with Tony. And coming up on February 6th, you can find my voice narrating the really, really short story. Brought to you by James Lott Jr. of JLJ Media.
Yes.
They signed Jack Farmer. They're a big deal.
Yeah.
Jack has joined. He's the latest one to join. These two already know. He's the latest one to join. So.
Like Nike signing LeBron. It's a big deal.
You're farmers.
I had to explain a basketball reference to Flobo, which I was shocked.
Yeah.
I have so Jack. Some of my friends call me Big Game James.
Yeah.
And so I had to ask one day, like, where's that from? James Worthy.
That's what I thought LeBron.
I thought LeBron.
No, it's a James Worthy. And my mother actually says, because I knew James Worthy. I'm like, did you date him? What's going on? I don't know. But anyway, she did know him apparently somehow.
I know who James Worthy is, but I didn't know Big Game James.
And so I have several friends who are big basketball fans who call me Big Game James.
So James asked me for my black card, and I was like, "No, it's mine."
That's
mine. Story.
Well, first you can't dance, so I wanted your black card then.
That's a Caribbean card. That's different. You got that because I can't dance in my life. It's terrible.
That's true.
No.
That's what I said behind the DJ booth. Yeah.
Everyone can dance. It's just not everyone can dance well. That's the difference.
Oh yeah. What is a rhythm? No idea. No theater ritmos, what they call me.
All you got to do is move your body around. It doesn't mean it's good. It's just.
On that case,
yeah. Yeah, don't do that.
Well, Tony will probably do one of his dance videos. He knows better.
Oh, Tony's dance videos.
Yeah, he didn't call him. He knows better. He's like, I didn't get you on my dance video. Nah, that's cool.
You can't what for some simple choreography? What if Tony says, "Here's like 4 steps"?
I tell you what, we will do it, and it'll be viral because no one can believe that he trained me to dance. It'd be like learning how to teach gorilla sign language. Like no one would see it coming, but when it happens,
did you say gorilla sign language?
Yeah, there's gorillas that can do sign language. Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Now, well, JLJ Media is on every social media platform you can think of. It's also on every streaming service you can think of, and it's also on YouTube under JLJ Media. I actually, for the first time, I am celebrating 12 years as JLJ Media tomorrow, and I'm also celebrating 12 years as a super organizer on Tuesday. So I've been in business for 12 years, both my businesses. So I'm started out in my 40s, and look what happened. So it's very surprising. So I'm very happy. Thanks to everybody who ever supported me ever in this kind of endeavor.
Congratulations.
Thank you. No, thank you. I'm actually, thank you. I'm very proud of that. I started from scratch, and that's the whole thing. You got to start somewhere. That's what happens. And time flies. It really does after a while. I mean, the time does keep on going. So we're doing that. And of course, you can find me where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold. That's just for Flobo. At James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. And even on
he's
TikTok.
cheap.
Yeah, I'm buying one of those.
I am kind of cheap. And yes. And my latest video went viral because I went to a place called Lot Avenue, and apparently now it's gone viral on TikTok. So I found it in East LA. It's one block. I get one block. That's it.
Well, Boyce Avenue's in Atwater. I've been there. It's pretty sick.
Oh, Boyce Avenue. Yes.
It's
but Jack's a farmer.
Yeah, farmer markets are all across the U.S.
Is you doing this Culver City, Mar Vista.
Farmer markets. They're everywhere. Anyway, folks, and that's where we'll end the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching us tonight. Anybody in the chat room, we love you guys. And all right, please stay safe as you can, because it's crazy out there. We got another like 11 days or so. So please stay safe. Please stay as sane as you can. Have compassion, and we'll see you next time. And laugh a little. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
And